Nice to meet everyone. My name is Maddie Shimura. I'm Civitai's VP of Partnerships, and then I'm also the executive producer for the Project Odyssey AI film competition. So I handle all of our API deals, all of our different competitions and joint marketing events too. So what inspired me to focus on AI filmmaking was some of my previous experience personally as a filmmaker for the past 17 years or so. So I've always done these short films, documentaries, all throughout school. But if I thought to myself, how could I ever make it to the big screen? I did do a film program, but I didn't go to Hollywood. I didn't, work in the industry. And there are so many people who have these wonderful ideas of that would make a great TV show or that would make a great movie, but just don't have the opportunities. The accessibility is really hard for filmmaking. So when the AI tools started to come out, I wanted to learn it for myself to be able to, be empowered so that I could, no matter if I'm, just starting out or already an expert, be able to tell the stories that I want to tell without having to, do a ton of fundraising, be able to have to purchase all this expensive equipment, and then also find a distribution channel. There are so many of these barriers to entry for filmmakers, and not everyone can, have access to those opportunities and make it as a big Hollywood director, even though they. But yeah, that's how I got started. And then coming to Civitai, I thought as a wonderful creator platform, the ecosystem needed some love. While you can be the creator, I think being able to be that facilitator is just as important. Being able to connect the businesses who often, they're great at making the tools, but they oftentimes aren't the ones using them, with the artists and the community and the creatives. So how do you bring those two groups together to work with each other and be able to build out this community ecosystem where the creators don't have to just be doing this as a side hustle or as a hobby. We want people to be doing this as a creator or as a career. But in order to get there, the medium needs to be pushed forward. The opportunities need to be created. The ways that people are creating just on social media you need to challenge them to get to that next level. So that's what we've been trying to promote here. So we started the first iteration of this competition this past June. So around 6 months ago, we started it with ourselves, Civitai, 11 Labs, Think Diffusion, and Real Dreams as the organizers, trying to create this initial competition to get people started. And from there, it was just wildly successful, having that, bringing together a lot of the different companies, being able to get coverage in Forbes and the LA Times, and be able to generate a lot of buzz from the community. So we thought, with the pace that the technology is moving, we need to do it again. We want to do this two times a year, maybe in the future 3 or 4 times a year every quarter, just because the way it's moving as a thermometer check of where creators are at, who the best talent is, as a pipeline of sorts, to be able to give people this opportunity. Because sometimes the things that go viral on social media aren't always the best stories don't always make it to viral status. Some things do better on social media than others. And then just leveling the playing ground of, when you're thinking about these competitions, you have many companies running them, but they're kind of siloed to that one company, where you have to use their tool, and it's their company sponsored one. Whereas we wanted to provide a more almost like the Olympics of AI filmmaking, where all these companies could think of themselves as countries, sending their best talent, giving access to their tools, and who comes out on top. Let it be a having that fair and egalitarian way of judging, so that it benefits us all. Because our thought process is that right now you need to use a combination of tools. You can't just use, there's no one-stop shop. You have to use 5 or 10 different tools to be able to make your film. So why not show how all of those companies could work together in collaboration and in unison and think about each other as collaborators rather than competitors? So that when we do get to that stage when it's more mainstream, it benefits us all. If we grow the market, if we grow the users, then it's better for the companies, it's better for the people. So we're trying to really unite everyone towards this common goal. And we want to start with film and video, but future plans include extending into game jams. Film and games are very closely aligned. So I think once we are able to scale up the competition, then we'll be able to do all these really kind of fun, creative things that just weren't possible before AI because of the speed of creation. But there is that human element. These competitions are very probably similar to physical events. They're very logistically complex. You have to get the judges, you have to get the sponsorships, you have to deal with submissions. So there is a lot of high touch human element that I think is part of, but people gravitate towards that because AI creation is so individualistic. Because the tools are so empowering, you can do it by yourself. But because of that, something is lost. You're not on set with your friends. You're not in the edit room together where you're working on these films together, but you're just doing it by yourself, which is great because but there's both positives and negatives to that. So really trying to hone in on this community element of how can we all bring it all together under one roof. These tools coming out, they're having more capabilities, more generation power, more consistency every day. I don't think that they will completely replace the traditional filmmaking process. I think the next leap, the first boundary was like text to video, then image to video, and then being able to have like a beginning and ending keyframe and also the lip sync. I think the next one is going to be video to video, where you can still do it in open source tools already, but it's being able to have that. You're still on set with actors, you're still filming a scene, but maybe they're similar to Planet of the Apes, if you're familiar with that film, where it's real actors, but they have the motion capture on them. They're still, having multi-characters, being able to, do these complex actions like hugging each other and talking. And because right now, the AI film tools are good for trailers, it's good for music videos, it's good for these marketing spec ads, but for long form, I think it's gonna struggle a bit because of the character consistency is there, but some of the background consistency of maybe you can get the same character, but say you're in a cafe and you're trying to shoot the cafe from different angles, then it might look a little like the architecture of the space might not be completely consistent. So I think controllability is going to be the topic of 2025. In terms of agents and I think of course we're going to be seeing a lot more. Meta and these other platforms are putting AI influencers, putting AI users out there. But I'm not as familiar with that territory. Much more, my kind of domain is more on image and video, and then on the music gen side as well.
Yeah, so very interesting. The video to video. Okay. 그 메리가 얘기한 비디오 투 비디오 같은 경우는 저는 굉장히 흥미롭다고 생각하는데 다음 질문을 한번 해보도록 하겠습니다. Mary, what do you think 2025 trend?
So for trends in 2025, I think we're going to see a lot more traditional storytellers start to make their way into AI. I think the tools, maybe a year ago, people were hesitant because they said, oh, the AI is not there yet, it's not very good. It's because what they were seeing on social media and what went viral is maybe not the best. It's the memes, it's the things that don't necessarily have, it's a different type of content. But there is content that has so much artistry and craft that's starting to be created, and from this competition, I've seen many entries that it's emotional. It has that human touch. It has that way to connect with you and resonate with you. And the AI tools are easily learnable. You could watch some YouTube tutorials. You can, play around with it and you can figure it out. However, some of those foundational filmmaking skills are incredibly valuable. Those people who had those decades of experience, that's not going to go to waste, because the taste, the ability to curate, the ability to have the language to know, hey, I need to use a 35 millimeter lens and a close-up shot and a tracking, being able to talk the cinematic language benefits the prompting, being able to know how to tell a story, how to craft dialogue, is going to be such an important part. So I want to see films that are both next-gen visuals and great stories. And I think the way to do that is you have the early adopters who are the AI creators and AI technologists who are pushing the boundary. But then as it starts to become more mainstream, which we're seeing now, there's the Coca-Cola ad. I think we'll probably see, for Project Odyssey, we're going to try and do a theatrical release. We're trying to book out some theaters in some different countries to see, will people come and see some of these films? And I think they will, even if they want to come to hate on it. Yeah. But if you're able to show the biggest critics really amazing films, if you're able to get them, the biggest critics, to be hands-on with the tools, I think you can change their minds. And if you're able to change their minds, you're able, I think that's a good sign for the industry of where you're able to get anyone to be one of these creators. But I think the only way to do that is through transparency, is through, not gatekeeping access, but bringing everyone into the fold, telling, especially those people who are anti-AI, it's good that you're critical of AI. We need to have, different kind of restrictions and guidelines for how we're using these tools and how we ethically think about it. But come in with an open mind, right? If you want to be critical after using them, after seeing some of these films, that's your right. But give it a chance. And I think if they start to see things that are these stories that would never have been told otherwise from these creators who, are outside the traditional studio system, when you're showcasing this story of, maybe there's this amazing storyteller, but they had to work a normal job. They always wanted to be a filmmaker, but they just had to, do other things in life. But now they have this opportunity. I think that's a really, thing that everyone can connect with. Yeah, so my thought is I see this trend too, of people who, were doing some of the open source workflows and how are now kind of moving more towards the closed source tools, which are much more user friendly. You don't have to do all of these nodes. You don't have to troubleshoot the errors with the system, which were, annoying. There's a lot of friction points. Yeah. However, I think there's space for both of these. I don't think it's going to be 50-50. I think the closed source tools are going to be good enough for most people, where, you're going to be able to get 85% of what you want from, KLING, Hilo, these other softwares. But for the people who really want to take it to the next level and have that complete and utter control and be able to do these renders that are, you have control over every part of the frame. You can mask certain areas, you can animate it different ways, you can do depth and cool VFX. I think they're going to gravitate towards the CompiUIs and the open source. I also think that the the studios. So these creative agencies, these the Hollywood studios, because they also want to have that complete controllability. They're going to be using of course, it's a combination. It's not completely one or the other. And you can do things like you can make your maybe you make your image in 컴피UI, and then you take your image and you put it in KLING to make the video out of it, and then you upscale it, so it's kind of a back and forth. But I think that there is going to be that kind of breakdown between those two niches, with the more user-friendly, kind of consumer-friendly one being closed source, and that taking a larger market share. But for the more enterprise, professional deals, those using the open source, more complex workflows.
So AI 시대가 오면서 사실은 지금 챗 GPT 5원 프로 같은 경우는 $200 그 monthly 피가 있고, 이렇게 소위 이제 격차가 좀 벌어지고 있다고 생각을 하는데요. 2023년부터 AI가 좀 널리 보급되면서 많은 사람들이 이걸 사용을 했죠. 그러나 한편으로는 이를 잘 활용하지 못하는 사람들, 그런 사람들과 또 잘 활용하는 사람들의 어떤 그 격차가 벌어지고 있는데, 뭐 최근에 아까 얘기했지만 5원 프로 같은 경우는 $200를 내고 사용할 수 있는 사람들이 별로 없을 거라고 생각하고, 또 앞으로 이제 2025에 O3가 나오게 되면은 O3 같은 경우는 얼마로 책정될지 모르지만 이제 굉장히 좀 돈이 있는 사람들, 자본력이 있는 사람들만 이런 걸 좀 사용하게 되면서, 그렇지 못한 사람들과 계속적으로 좀 격차가 벌어지고, 사회적으로도 이런 식으로 격차가 좀 벌어져서 문제가 될 수 있을 것 같은데, 이거에 대해서는 좀 어떻게 생각하는지, 그리고 좀 어떤 방안이 있을지, 이런 좀 의견도 한번 들어보고 싶습니다.
I definitely think it's an issue where the price hurts accessibility, where certain people just aren't able to afford $200 a month. It's just not feasible depending on many different factors. So I think that is going to definitely cause a divide between who can have access to the software. I would say that it's still more accessible than the traditional filmmaking process, because although anyone on their phone can take a video, if you were to think about 5 years ago, you need a $1,200 DSLR, $250 tripod, $50 a month editing subscription, $2,000 PC. So if you look at the overall costs, and I think the costs will come down over time, especially since there's a lot of competition. There are a lot of different video models out there, and I think they'll be at different price points. The more premium ones being at that higher one with, but I think if they're all going to compete with each other. When I'm not sure what Google VO's pricing is, but when they have their pricing, I'm sure they have their own ROI that they need to hit. And in terms of how much these models cost, millions and millions of dollars a month to train. So they are trying to recoup their costs. So I understand where both sides are coming from, and I think they're going to be options for maybe not as highly capable models, but at a more affordable price point. But like I said before, I think it's the storytelling ability, it's the editing, it's the sound design, these things outside of just the pure visuals that are gonna make people stand out, rather than kind of like a pay to win scenario. If you think of some video games, you can pay to get the best items or gear, but I think the skill is still the most important factor in all of that.
Yeah, I understand. Like a story is more important than just a regular skill, right?
Yeah, because I would rather watch a film with the really bad visuals and excellent story and excellent sound, rather than if you compare that to the film with the most amazing visuals, but it's just like the worst. There's some films can be hit or miss, but I think the story and the sound design can really carry any visuals. there are great movies that have been made 20, 50 years ago that are still great films today. So I think it's not really, people get caught up in the visuals because it's flashy. It's, it's what you see first. But once you try to get things that are, especially more long form, more than just a clip, more than just social media, that's when those other components start to, the balance is more in their favor. I'm for these agents and autonomous tasks, I'm really looking forward to a creative co-pilot. Yeah. So essentially an agent where, say, you're making your video generation, where you could say, actually, I want the shot, you can use natural language and you can describe what you want. Of course, you're doing the text, but say you get your first generation, you say, oh, actually, I want a, rotate 360 degrees to the right and then, do a tilt up. Actually, I want her haircut to be, more to the side and have blonde streaks in it. Being able to work with it in a way where it's really, truly still you. It's you're the director and you're giving that direction, but it's doing all of those more kind of manual tasks that would take so much time. But being able to be you and support that creative vision, I think that would be really an amazing thing, especially for those open source workflows where it is so complex. If you were able to work with those as easily as you could the closed sourced ones, to be able to automate that process a little bit better, I think it would really help that storytelling process. But like I mentioned before, you still need to be able to know how to essentially prompt engineer, how to talk with these, how to have this vocabulary and this language of knowing what's good and what's not good. How do you have that taste? How do you train yourself to know what is good quality? And I think that can only come from putting in the work, watching other films that are out there, watching classic films, trying to understand how it breaks down. Of course, you can have ChatGPT write a script for you, but how do you know if it's actually a good script versus, something that's just a regurgitation? How do you put your original spin on it? I like, my message to people is, with all these different tools coming out there, it's easy to feel overwhelmed. But I would say, think what you can uniquely do. What is your superpower when it comes to working with this medium? Because the medium is the message in a way. It's the way that you're communicating yourself. And I would also say, make films that you yourself enjoy. I think, it's not worth it to worry about the algorithm or worrying about, pleasing other people and creating just for the sake of creating, or using AI just for the sake of using AI. Be intentional. Think about what stories are important to you. And I think that if it's important to you, it might be important to someone else. They might have that kind of shared connection. So Civitai and Project Odyssey have some big plans for 2025. We started Civitai as this model hub similar to Hugging Face for different stable diffusion resources and fine-tune. So that's always going to be a big part of the business. And with these new open source models, Cog Video X, Mochi, LTX video, all of these different ones, they are going to support video fine tuning. So we are going to be able to integrate all of these tools into the platform and be able to offer their services. We also hope to, many companies have APIs. So of course, image and video is the main focus right now, but expanding into 3D, expanding into music gen, where we can be this community space for all of them, where they want to focus on building product and being the best in their very competitive verticals. Whereas community building often takes a lot of time and effort and love to do well. So that's really our bread and butter of hosting content, of moderating content, where these different companies, they don't want to get into the hassle of building this whole infrastructure. They just want to focus on training their foundational model layer or building a really cool application layer. And then what we hope is we're able to collaborate with them, bring our really great community audience of 6.5 million monthly active users, give them access to all of these different tools as that integrator, being the universal currency so that they can get the most out of their credits. Being able to, people like to switch between different subscriptions, but what if you could have one universal one? And of course, there are other integrators that are doing a great job at this. FreePic, definitely want to shout them out. Bringing together the different video models, bringing together, but these companies are more creative suites, whereas for us, we're more of this social network community where we want to not only support the top foundational models, but essentially any startup there is, whether it's 3D, whether it's audio, whether it's voiceover, and just being that platform for them to find users and succeed. Similar to, you've heard of B2C, business to consumer. The kind of way we're framing it is B2B2C. So the companies come to us because they want to work with the community and the users, and then we are able to enable that for the give them the features and the capabilities to post their work, find a following, and hopefully make money off of it too when people are really enjoying the content that they're producing, maybe having followers that are giving them $1, but times 1,000 people times a month, that's some nice monetization for them, and to hopefully make it more of a career rather than just as a hobby. So with all of the Project Odyssey partners, Project Odyssey and Civitai, they're connected but also separate in ways where we work with a lot of the same partners, bringing on their tools to the platform, but Project Odyssey is more just as this collective initiative to help push the industry forward. Yeah, we wanted to give a big shout out to the AI Korea community for helping support Project Odyssey. We've seen so many great submissions from your community, and we're really excited to have the AI Korea Community Award winner too. So there will be a film selected by Bopyo and James and the team to be able to represent. So please submit, and we can't wait to see what you create.